She smiled when I entered. Not the polite kind neighbors trade over fences, but something slower, as if she'd been expecting me all along. I wasn't supposed to be there that evening. My uncle had asked me to drop off some boxes next door, the kind of favor you do without thinking. But when the door opened and she appeared, hair loosely tied, sleeves rolled to her elbows, soft light behind her, it stopped feeling like an errand. Her name was Mara. Everyone on the street called her the widow aunt, though no one ever said it to her face. There was a poise about her, a kind of quiet that made you aware of your own noise. She held the door wider with one hand, her eyes tracing me like she was remembering something she'd misplaced years ago. "You can just leave them inside," she said, stepping back. Her voice carried that low, rested tone people get when they've spent years talking less than they feel. The air inside smelled faintly of jasmine tea and rain. I kicked off my shoes without thinking, hearing the faint click of the door as it shut behind me. She didn't rush to lock it. Not yet. Just watched me cross the room, the boxes in my arms feeling heavier than they were. "You grew taller," she said suddenly, and then smiled like she hadn't meant to say it aloud. I turned, pretending to set the boxes straight. "You remember?" Her shoulders lifted in a small shrug. "You used to ride your bike past my window every morning." "How could I forget?" She paused, eyes flicking toward the open curtain. "You still do, don't you?" The question hung there. Not teasing, not motherly, something else. I wasn't sure how to answer, so I said nothing. The silence filled itself with the sound of rain tapping on glass, the faint hiss of water boiling somewhere in the kitchen. She gestured toward the kettle. "Tea? Or are you in a hurry?" "I've got time." Her lips curved again, the kind of smile that says, "Good." She turned, her steps light on the wooden floor, and I caught the scent of her. Faint perfume mixed with something warmer, human, real. She moved with a careful grace, like someone who's had to relearn the weight of her own body. When she handed me the cup, our fingers brushed. A small thing, but the air shifted, I swear it did. Her hand lingered just half a second too long before she withdrew, eyes avoiding mine as if both of us had agreed to ignore what just happened. "You look tired," she said. "Just work." I lied. Her gaze slid toward me again, soft and assessing. "You're not used to lying." That made me laugh under my breath. She caught it, smiled slightly, and then looked away. The room felt too quiet again. Only the ticking of a wall clock, the hum of the rain. The kind of quiet that starts pressing against your ribs. I don't remember when she moved closer, only that I could feel the warmth from her arm when she reached past me to place her cup down. Her voice dropped a little. "You don't have to rush off yet." I turned toward her, and for a second, we were just standing there, too close for neighbors, not close enough for what we both knew was there. Then click, the soft turn of a lock behind me. I looked at her. She didn't move, didn't explain, just stood there, eyes steady, like she'd done something she couldn't take back. And for the first time, I didn't want to leave. To be continued. For a second, neither of us spoke. The click of that lock felt louder than it should have, sharp in the quiet, final in a way that made the air shift. She turned away first, walking to the window, pretending to check the rain. "It sticks sometimes," she said. Her tone was calm, but there was a thin crack in it, a tremor that made me unsure if she meant the door or something else entirely. I set the tea down, hands not quite steady. "It's fine," I said. "I'm not in a hurry." She nodded once, still facing the glass. The reflection caught her expression, thoughtful, distant, and I realized how rarely she probably had someone here. The house was too quiet for someone who still looked alive inside it. "I used to hate silence," she said softly. "Now I think I depend on it." I didn't know what to say to that. She must have sensed it because she laughed under her breath. "Don't worry. You don't need to fix it." There was something in her voice. A warning, maybe, or mercy. I studied her. The faint line of her neck, the way she folded her arms like she was holding herself together. There was a ring on her finger, plain gold, still there though her husband had been gone 3 years. People in the neighborhood said she never took it off. She turned and caught me looking. "What?" she asked, half smiling. Nothing, I lied. That's another lie, she said gently. I smiled, but it came out crooked. You make it hard to hide things. Maybe I'm just good at noticing, she murmured, brushing past me to pick up the cups. Her shoulder brushed mine. Light, accidental, but not really. Every time she moved, it was like my body had to learn what to do again. Breathe slower. Look away. Pretend to be composed. When she reached for the kettle, her hand trembled slightly. I noticed before she pulled it back and tucked it into her other arm. You okay? I asked. She hesitated. Sometimes it's strange, having someone else here. Because I'm young? Because you're not supposed to see me like this, she said quietly. Still figuring out how to be someone again. That stopped me. There was something raw in it. Something that made me want to step closer but not touch her. Instead, I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with how you are now. Her eyes lifted to mine. For a moment, the room seemed smaller, the rain louder. She reached out like she was about to say something, then just brushed invisible dust from my shoulder. Her fingers resting there, warm, longer than they should have. The space between us folded in. I could feel her breath, steady but thin, brushing my collarbone. Neither of us moved. Then she stepped back, forcing a small laugh. You should go before the rain stops. But she didn't unlock the door right away. She just looked at me. A look too soft to be casual, too brave to be a mistake. And I knew, even before I turned to leave, that this was already too far to undo. To be continued. The next time I saw her, it wasn't planned. I was fixing my uncle's fence when her voice came over the hedge, low, warm, calling my name. Could you help me with something? She asked. Her tone was careful, as if she'd already talked herself out of asking once. Inside her house, the scent was the same, tea and rain, always rain. She stood by a stack of books near the shelf, trying to lift one that looked too heavy. I moved to take it, our hands brushing again. Neither of us pulled away fast enough. Thanks, she said too quickly. She was wearing a loose white blouse, sleeves half rolled, collar open just enough to look unintentional. I caught myself staring and turned toward the window. The reflection betrayed me. Her eyes were already there, watching. She smiled faintly. You always look like you're about to say something. Maybe I am. But you don't. Maybe I shouldn't. A beat. The soft hum of a clock filled the space between us. Then the sudden buzz of her phone on the counter. She froze. The name flashing on the screen. Lena. I recognized it, her sister. The one who still stopped by unannounced. Mara grabbed the phone, voice steady. I'll call you back. Her hand lingered on the counter long after she ended the call. She's on her way, she murmured. Something in me tightened. Now? She nodded. 15 minutes. We both looked at the door. At the space we stood in, too close, too charged, too hard to explain. You should probably, she started, but didn't finish. I didn't move. Neither did she. The air grew heavier. A drop of rain tapped against the window like a slow countdown. Her breath caught first. This is wrong, she whispered. Yeah, I said. But you're not stopping. That made her laugh. Short, quiet, shaking. Neither are you. We stood there, inches apart. She reached up to adjust the collar of my shirt. Maybe a nervous gesture, maybe an excuse to touch. Her fingers brushed my neck, light as a thought. I felt her pulse in that touch. Fast, uneven. Your heart, she said softly. It's racing. So's yours. Our eyes met. No words left to hide behind now. Then, a sharp knock on the door. She stepped back instantly, the spell snapping. Go, she whispered. Out the back. I couldn't. Her hand was still warm where it had touched me, her scent still hanging between us. The knock came again, louder this time. Mara? A woman's voice called. She turned, panic flickering behind her eyes. But before she moved, she looked back at me, and something in that look made it impossible to leave. I stepped closer, close enough that our foreheads nearly touched. Neither of us breathed. Outside, her sister's voice called again. Inside, The silence pulsed. We didn't kiss, but the space between us, that single breath, felt like the edge of a secret too alive to die quietly. For a week, we didn't speak. Not a word. Not a text. Not even a glance across the fence. I told myself it was for the best. So did she, I think. But silence doesn't erase anything. It just pushes it deeper, until it hums beneath your skin. It was a Thursday evening when it finally cracked. I was walking home when I saw her porch light still on. The curtains were half open, and she was standing there, arms crossed, looking at nothing. Before I could talk myself out of it, I knocked. She opened the door like she'd been waiting. Her eyes looked tired, not from lack of sleep, but from holding too much in. "You shouldn't be here," she said quietly. "I know. So why are you?" "I don't know anymore." The words hung between us, heavy and honest. She stepped aside and I entered. No jasmine this time, just rain and the faint scent of wine. Her hair was loose, a few strands sticking to her cheek. We stood there, facing each other, both pretending to have control. Neither of us did. "You've been avoiding me," I said. "I had to." "Did it help?" Her eyes flicked up, then down again. "No, that broke something small and careful inside me." I took a slow step forward, close enough to see the rise of her pulse at her throat. "This isn't fair," she whispered. "To who?" "To you. To me. To everything." Her voice shook on the last word. I reached up without thinking and brushed her hair back from her face. My hand lingered there, the warmth of her skin, the tremor under it. "You keep saying that," I said softly. "But you're still here." She exhaled shakily, her hand catching mine before I could pull away. "Because when you look at me like that, I forget how to be careful." I didn't speak. Couldn't. She took a step closer. Her chest brushed against mine, her breath catching when she realized how near we were. I could feel the faint tremor in her shoulders, the way she tried and failed to steady it. "I don't want to ruin you," she murmured. "You're not ruining anything." She laughed once, broken, small. "You don't know what people will say." "I don't care." "You should." I shook my head. "I care about this." She went still. The sound of the rain outside faded until there was only the sound of her breathing. Fast, uneven, too close. Then she leaned her forehead against mine, eyes closed, voice a whisper against my lips. "This can't happen," she said. "It already is." Her fingers curled in my shirt. Mine rested at her waist. The world shrank to the distance between a heartbeat and a mistake. Then her phone buzzed again. The spell cracked. She froze, eyes still closed, whispering, "Don't." But I was already too close. Our lips brushed. Not a kiss, not yet. Just the beginning of one. And that's when the door handle turned. The door opened an inch before she caught it. A quick, sharp movement, her hand slamming against the frame. "Lena," she said, too fast, too bright. "You scared me." Her sister's voice filtered through the crack. "You left your phone on again." I called. "I was just, getting ready for bed," Mara said. She hadn't even looked at me. From where I stood, half in shadow, I could see the tremor in her fingers, the tiny shake she tried to hide by gripping the door harder. Lena hesitated. "You okay?" "Fine," Mara said, smiling too wide. "Really?" A pause. Then footsteps receding. The sound of a car door. Silence again. She didn't move right away. When she finally closed the door, she didn't turn around. "You should go," she said quietly. I waited. "Do you really want me to?" That made her turn sharp, sudden. Her eyes glimmered with something like anger, or fear pretending to be anger. "Don't make this harder. You think I came here to make it easy?" She exhaled, unsteady. "You don't understand. You weren't supposed to know." "Know what?" Her mouth opened, then closed again. She crossed the room, pacing once, twice. "Your uncle. He told me to keep an eye on you." I blinked. "What?" "When you moved in next door, he came by. He said you'd been through something. That you were trying to get away from someone." "That's not." I started, then stopped. She looked at me carefully, like she already knew I wasn't telling the whole truth either. He said you needed space. That's why I... Her voice softened. That's why I let you in. I didn't answer. My pulse thudded too loud in my ears. She stepped closer, slow, as if testing the ground beneath every word. But it didn't stay that simple, did it? Her hand lifted halfway, almost touching my face before stopping. I didn't mean to want you. I swallowed. Then don't lie about it. Her eyes flashed. Anger and desire tangled together. You think this is just about wanting? Her voice cracked, and that was worse than shouting. People will talk, she said. Your uncle, my sister, everyone. So what? So I care what they'll think. Her hand brushed against my chest, barely there, trembling. And you don't. You're young. You can survive this. I can't. I caught her wrist before she pulled back. You're wrong. She looked up, eyes glossy, voice unsteady. Then prove it. Walk away before I can't. But neither of us moved. Instead, she stepped back, only half a step, and whispered, Tomorrow. Come by tomorrow. I'll tell you everything. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. I nodded, though I didn't understand what she meant. She turned off the light, leaving only the rain-streaked glow from the window between us. And as I stepped into the dark, I knew tomorrow would change Ev the next evening. I didn't wait for the rain to stop. I crossed the street under it, soaked, reckless, and knocked once on her door. No answer. Then, after a pause long enough to hurt, the lock turned. She opened it just wide enough for me to see her face. Bare, tired, beautiful in a way that made it hard to breathe. I wasn't sure you'd come, she said. I wasn't sure I shouldn't. She stepped back, letting me in. The lights were dim, shadows pooling in corners. A candle flickered on the table, its flame small but stubborn. Her voice was quiet. I thought about what I said. So did I. We stood there, dripping silence between us. My jacket left a trail of water on her floor, but neither of us cared. Mara, I said, and it came out rougher than I meant. You said you'd tell me everything. She nodded. I lied before, about why I wanted you here. I waited. She took a breath. I wasn't trying to help you. I was trying to feel something again. Her words hit harder than I expected. She looked away, jaw tight. After he died, I forgot what it meant to be looked at, wanted. You reminded me, and I hate that I need that from someone your age. The tremor in her voice cracked something open inside me. I stepped closer, but she didn't move. I don't care about age, I said. You should. I don't. Her breath caught when I said it. I could feel the warmth of her through the space that wasn't space anymore, just air trembling between us. You don't understand what this costs me, she whispered. I think I do. No, she said, shaking her head, eyes glistening. Because when you leave, and you will, I'll have to live with this. Her words should have stopped me. They didn't. I reached out, fingers brushing her wrist. A small, fragile contact. She didn't pull away. Instead, she stepped closer, until I could feel her breath against my cheek. Say something, she whispered. I can't. Then don't. The words barely existed, just air and heartbeat. My hand slid to her back, hers to my chest. For a moment we just stood there. No movement, no words, everything held taut in the pause before gravity decides. Then she looked up, eyes soft and burning all at once. This is the part where we stop, she said. I shook my head. Or the part where we finally don't. The distance vanished. Not with a rush, not with fire, but with something quiet, certain, inevitable. Her hand found my face, and in that moment, it wasn't about wanting anymore. It was about recognition. Two people too different, too late, too right in the wrong time. When she finally pulled back, her voice was barely there. Now you understand. And I did. We couldn't keep this. But neither of us would ever unfeel it. Morning light slipped through her curtains, soft and forgiving. The rain had stopped sometime during the night, leaving behind that washed, quiet air that feels like the world is starting over. She stood by the window, hair loose, wrapped in an old sweater that hung from one shoulder. I sat on the couch, elbows on my knees, unsure if I should speak first or just let the silence be what it was. Gentle, full. When she finally turned, her expression wasn't guilt or fear anymore, just calm, a kind of peace I hadn't seen in her before. "So," she said, voice steady, "this is the part where we pretend it didn't happen?" I smiled faintly. "I don't think I could." Her eyes softened. "Neither could I." She crossed the room and sat beside me, close enough that our shoulders touched. The warmth of her body settled into me, quiet, grounding, real. "I spent so long being careful," she said, "making sure no one saw me want anything." "Why?" "Because wanting always came with losing." I turned to her. "And now," she smiled, small and honest, "now it feels like maybe I can want something and not break because of it." I reached for her hand. She didn't hesitate this time. Her fingers slid into mine easily, as if we'd already spent years doing it. Outside, the sun caught the wet leaves, scattering light across her floor. She followed my gaze, then leaned her head on my shoulder. "People will still talk," she murmured. "Let them." Her laugh was quiet, almost shy. "You make it sound simple." "It's not," I said, "but it feels right." For a while, neither of us said anything. Her thumb brushed over the back of my hand, slow and absent, like she was memorizing something fragile. "I kept thinking I'd ruin you," she said. "You didn't." She looked up, eyes bright. "No," I shook my head. "You made me see things differently. You made everything mean more." She smiled, not the nervous one, not the careful one. Just a real, unguarded smile. Then she leaned in and pressed her forehead to mine. No words, just breath, warmth, the faint tremor of relief. When she spoke again, it was barely a whisper. "You should go before someone sees." "I will." But I didn't move. She laughed softly, the sound brushing against my cheek. "Not yet. Not yet." We sat there in the light, fingers still intertwined, her hand resting on my knee. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It felt like something alive, something that would last, even if everything else changed. Outside, the street was waking up, ordinary and unaware. Inside, we stayed still, not hiding, not rushing, just being. Whatever came next, we'd already chosen it. And for the first time, it felt like enough. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?